Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name is Gary.
My name is Adam.
And we're at episode 166.
Yeehaw!
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise!
Boom, etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you, don't ask stupid questions, and don't wander off.
How can you kidneys? I don't like the colour.
Howdy, howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. I was just thinking, the intro's going to get very long once Jodie goes in there.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
I can just imagine the podcast in the year, I don't know, 2032.
When we're just brains in jars.
Well, I'm just thinking, the intro's nearly 10 minutes long. So it's got all of the intros of, well, if the show's still going at that point, obviously.
I wonder what her first words will be.
Her first words?
Yeah, what do you think? Because the Moff has handed over to Chibbers when her scene takes over for Christmas. So he's written her introductory line or whatever it is, whatever we get. So it'd be interesting to see. I hope it's better than Capaldi's. I don't like that thing about the kidneys.
I've got new
kidneys. I don't like the colour. What does that even mean?
It's just
I don't know. I always found that a bit odd. I always thought that was Moffat trying to be funny, but
you're not a fan of the old kidneys joke, then?
I don't know. No. I just find it weird. I guess it's because I've never understood it. So I'll tell you one thing. I am hoping whatever her first words are, I hope she does it in a native accent, because there's been a bit of a thing about this recently, this week, isn't there, about fans voting whether she should keep her what is it? What's her accent? Where's she from?
Has she got a Yorkshire accent? Is she slightly northern?
I think it.
Yorkshire
Yes,
accent? I think so.
I think so. Yeah. I hope she keeps it, because I always find it weird when people try and put on an accent. That's why it took me a while to get used to Tennant, because I was thinking, no, just let him use his Scottish accent. Stop doing that mockney. All right, mate. All right, governor. Chat. You know what I mean? So I was always a bit. So I'd quite like her to keep her native accent. Otherwise, I don't know. The whole time I'm watching, I'm just thinking, oh, they don't speak like that.
Yes, it's very. It's a very interesting subject, that, because I know there's always a massive hoo-ha around David Tennant and him not using his native Scottish accent.
Yeah.
And but it's quite cool. The way he handles it is quite cool as well. He's always like, well, that doesn't really bother me. It was written that way, so I did it that way. So
yeah.
But then obviously Capaldi came in as a Scotsman and did it in his Scots accent. Yeah,
it's weird because I think if I watch Deep Breath, which I haven't watched for quite some time, but his accent definitely seems to have mellowed, Capaldi's, as the series went on, because I remember it's really quite Scottish in the Deep Breath, and I think he even makes a point of saying it, doesn't he, when he meets the tramp and all that. I said, guys, I think I've only watched Deep Breath twice. Once when it was on at the cinema, and then I watched it again, and I don't know. I'm never sure quite what I make of that episode. We have reviewed it, haven't we? I think it was one of the first ones we did. But I don't know. I'd like her to keep a native accent. Yeah, it would be quite cool. I mean, I think Tennant did it very briefly in Tooth and Claw. Oh yeah,
up on the hull. He did that little thing to pretend to be Scottish for a few minutes, but that was it.
Yeah, and I remember liking that idea because I thought, oh, that's quite good. The way they sort of put it in as a second story, and it'd be, doing that. So, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Jodie.
Yeah, I have a feeling she will just do her native accent. I have a feeling.
Do you think? It's weird the things you think of when you're lying in bed at night. And I was thinking about
lying.
No, I was just sort of thinking the other night, like, I wonder how much she'll be in the Christmas special. And the reason I was thinking this is because I remember the director, what's her name? Rachel
Talalay. Yep.
Yeah, I remember her saying like that she hadn't filmed anything with the new Doctor, which made people sort of say, well, is she in the Christmas special? And then, and obviously we're assuming that's a lie. So we're assuming she's in the Christmas special.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering how much we're going to get. Do you think it's just going to be the very end bit again, or are they going to surprise us by having her in it sort of for a good 10, 20 minutes towards the end or something? I just wonder what the Moff's got off his sleeve.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, these are things that I do think about doing, everyday mundane things. So when I'm ironing or I'm in the shower or walking back from the school run, I do think about, I get what you're saying. Would it be cool to have her in most of the... Because remember we spoke about this many, many months ago. And we said about the regeneration. And I said, I've just got a feeling that it's going to be one of those teaser episodes for Jodie. I reckon she's going to be in it at the end, like they always do. It'll be mostly a Capaldi and sort of mock First Doctor story. And then he will regen towards the end, and we'll see Jodie at the end. But do you remember we said that it would be cool to have to sort of throw a curveball in there?
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking.
So, what would be really cool is if Capaldi doesn't regenerate at Christmas. I think I remember saying that it would be really cool for everyone to have this big expectation and build up, and then she's not in it. And then he's in it at the very start of Series 11. So he's sort of in the beginning. And then he's in it for sort of 10 minutes and then we regen. But I know that wouldn't happen, but it would certainly be a cool sort of curveball to throw everybody.
It would. And I keep thinking about like if we had like Capaldi and David Bradley and Jodie Whittaker all in like, you know, battling at the end. I'm just thinking, I don't know. I'm just intrigued to see what we get at Christmas. Because I mean, I feel a little sorry for Capaldi because there's so much out there at the minute about Jodie in the new series, and it feels like he's already gone.
I know,
a little bit. And I keep thinking, no, come on, we got one more great story with him, and I want it to be I'm saying great story. I haven't seen it yet. I hope it's great, but I want him to get a good send off, you know. And I sort of keep thinking there's so much going on in this Christmas special already. I feel he's got a little overshadowed a bit, like it's his regen story. But I don't know. I've got a feeling it's. I hope that it's going to be a good send off for him.
I hope so. And the reason why I think that Jodie won't be in it until the sort of final act, if you like, of the episode is because they're probably going to make the most of Capaldi and David Bradley.
That's what I hope. Yeah,
they're probably going to, you know. Because they've sort of, you know, they've released all these publicity photos and David Bradley's in the latest issue of Doctor Who magazine and, you know, he's quite a big feature in it. So I imagine that most of it will be those two. I've just got a hunch about that.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing because like you say, Capaldi needs a good final story, a good send-off. So he should be centre stage.
That's what I mean. Sure yeah. That's what I'm hoping because I'm loving all the other stuff that we've sort of seen so far, or whatever. But yeah, I just hope he is centre stage as it's his last story. He deserves to be. Yeah.
Yes. Talking of regens, we've got our Davison Fifth Doctor regeneration story coming up.
Yes.
That concludes Revisits month. We're going to finish up on Caves, as it's known.
The Caves of Amazon.
The Caves of Amazon, yeah.
The Caves of Androzani.
Yes, the one thing of many things in Doctor Who that always throws the spell checker out the window.
Yeah,
it's like my show
when I was on Twitter.
Yeah, show notes and everything that I've written up is just littered with red underlines everywhere for Androzani. But we've got quite light news and merch, so otherwise, you've been all good, buddy. Been up to anything?
So after we reviewed the McGann TV movie last week, I was in the mood for a bit of McGann. And obviously, so, you know, there's not much TV out there, so you've got to sort of go to Big Finish. And I downloaded a little short trip, actually, which is, it's got McGann on the cover, but it's actually narrated by Carol Ann Ford. So he's not, McGann doesn't actually feature himself on it, but it's like a little Eighth Doctor short trip. And I really enjoyed it. It's called All Hands on Deck, it was called, and it's only recently just come out. And it kind of picks up a little bit from what happens at the end of the Eighth Doctor Adventures, where he goes back to see Susan, and there's quite a big thing at the end of that, which I'm not going to spoil for people. And it's it's nice. So I was quite intrigued to hear this one, to sort of see what happens, because it's quite a big what do you call it? I don't know. I can't say too much because I don't want to ruin it for anyone that hasn't listened to that brilliant Series 4 of the Eighth Doctor's Adventures. But there's something big at the end of it, and I just wanted to see how they picked up from it. And it's a really nice little short trip actually. And good thing about those is they're like $2.99 to download, and it's basically just Susan picking up the pieces from that from the Dalek invasion, and she's back at Coal Hill School, and there's a piece of Dalek technology that's still sort of kicking off, and and then the sort of Doctor comes back, and I don't want to say too much because, as I said, it was sort of picks up very nicely from events from the last Eighth Doctor's adventures, and I really enjoyed it. It's just a cool little short trip, so that's good. I always like it when I manage to get a bit of big finish in the week, and that was just perfect. Short little 25-minute story.
Oh yes.
So I enjoyed that, but I mean, I should really be listening to all the other box sets that I've got, because I've still got a massive backlog like you. Didn't you listen to the new Old Doctor's New Monsters thing recently?
Classic Doctors.
That's it.
New Monsters. Yes, I have re-listened to Volume 1.
That's right. I saw your Facebook post.
Yeah, early on in the week, and halfway through the second re-listen of Volume 2. So I mean, I really like that first volume. It's not like we said at the time, it's not going to top any polls, but it's a good little release, and I've got some really interesting concepts, and it was quite a brave release, really, because two of the stories are monsters that can't talk, or
that's right, the Weeping Angels.
Yeah, so you have the Weeping Angels. So how the hell do you do that as just an audio only play? But they managed to kind of do that, and then you've got the Jadoon, who they sort of cleverly weaved in how you could understand the Jadoon. Otherwise, it's your Vol, all that business. And then you've got the Sycorax, who again, they need some sort of translation. So it was really cool, I think. I mean, and then we have the Centauran Paul McGann story, which is quite good. Yeah, so it's a solid little release, really. It's good.
I gotta say, I've got to get you into the the Eighth Doctor adventures. The ones where he's traveling with the companion Lucy Miller, played by Sheridan Smith. You're gonna love them. And I always think, because obviously I consider them canon, so I always think, okay, so the Eighth Doctor meets Susan, and then all this stuff happens, and I always think so, because I've always wanted Susan to come back into the main series. Mm-hmm. I'm even hoping she might pop up at Christmas, and I just sort of think, how will they handle it? Because it's quite a big thing that happens at the end of that series, and and I'm just sort of thinking, so will they carry that through to the TV show? I hope so, because as I said, I consider it canon, but it also does really complicate things in terms of the relationship between the Doctor and Susan. Do you know what I mean? Without giving it away, I sort of always wonder if she did come back, how they would get around that, or if they wouldn't mention it, or But I've got to get you into those, mate. I think you'd really love that. I think they did 4 series of it, and they're so good. And they're all about 50 minutes, an hour long. So then they're reasonable, each standalone story. But man, do they have an amazing final by the end of series 4. It's like, I remember getting to the end of it and just being sat there in my garden, just like as the music rolled, just going, oh my God, I can't believe they just did that. Yeah, it's one of those. And it sort of picks up nicely when the next series that they did, Dark Eyes, the Doctor's quite broody and not in a very good place. It picks up really well from those stories. So I'm going to get you into those.
Yeah, I did pick up a few of them. I think last time we spoke about this, when you said about the Eighth Doctor with Lucy Miller, I did go off and pick up a few of them. I got her introductory.
Oh, the Blackpool one?
No. The Blood of the Daleks, part 1 and 2.
Oh, Blood of the Daleks, yeah. Sorry, I jumped series 2.
Yeah. Then I got Horror of Glam Rock.
Oh, yeah.
Which is quite fun.
It's got a glam rock version of the theme tune, isn't it?
Yes,
Rightly, yeah.
Yep. And I've picked up a few more as well. I think I picked up a story which was titled Lucy Miller.
Right, yeah.
As I was just doing a search for, Lucy Miller. And there was another one as well, which was quite good. I can't remember the name of it. I think it might have been... I can't remember. There was another one, Lucy Miller one, that I picked up.
They're really good, aren't they? They work so well together, those two. I really like Sheridan Smith.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah. But apart from that, mate, I have not been up to much. I've had no little treats through the post. I haven't been spending money. I've been really good. So what about you? Have you had anything arrive recently? Any little treats?
No, mate, I haven't. No, I've got a couple of things that are on its way.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really, not been up to much Who stuff. I got a dispatch email from Forbidden Planet today, actually, to say that my little first Doctor figure is on its way. Based on experience, it's either going to be here tomorrow or by the time we record episode 71.
Yeah,
72, something like that. So any time that Forbidden Planet actually plan on dispatching it, I will put some pics up and stuff when it arrives. But yeah, it could be any time from...
You wait all this time for a first Doctor and then two arrive at once.
I know. It's the way
cool. I can't wait to see it, actually. So this is the little Mr. Men first Doctor figure they've released. Yeah, that'd be cool. I look forward to seeing that.
Yes. So looking forward
to blast
that.
a few pictures, yeah.
Yeah, and I think by the time this podcast goes out on Friday, which will be what, the 24th? Friday the 24th?
Yeah.
I think the 10th Doctor Volume 2 will be out from Big Finish.
Oh, it will. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to shoving that into iTunes and giving that a listen as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. They've been doing like this countdown, haven't they, with these nice bits of artwork, like 2 days to go and all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's quite exciting. Yeah, this is the one with Billy Piper as well, isn't it? So I'm quite looking forward to that.
Yeah, with old Billy. See what she sounds like on audio.
That seems like ages ago that I pre-ordered it as well, because I pre-ordered it as soon as it came out because I wanted the limited book to go with the other 10th Doctor limited book. Obviously, I must have I can't possibly have part 1 as a limited and a standard. Oh no. So so I'm looking forward to that dropping through the post. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it, buddy.
Yeah.
Fairly quiet, but stuff on the way.
Yeah. Cool.
Which is always good. Anyways, shall we land this big bad TARDIS and do the news?
Let's do it.
I'm getting sick of this, mate.
It's part and parcel of life, though, I'm afraid. Especially especially with a show that's 50 years.
Yeah, I read you. But yes, in sad news that we have to kick off, unfortunately, Mr. Rodney Bewes has passed at the age of 79. Those of you who have who used to watch a lot of TV back in the sort of late 70s, early 80s, I suppose, you'd probably recognise Rodney. Most famously in Doctor Who, he was Stein in Resurrection of the Daleks.
Yeah.
And went on to do a few other things, The Likely Lads, Z-Cars. Everyone is in Z-Cars from Classic Who.
I know, yeah.
We say that all the time, don't we?
Z-Cars.
Dixon and Doc Green, all that stuff. Very, very cool character in Resurrection.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I remember as a kid, my dad used to watch The Likely Lads, so I was sort of really associating with that. But it is sad. I must admit, I'm quite a big fan of Resurrection, of the Daleks. And I like his character because he's a bit different, isn't he?
Yes.
You know, he's got the stutter, and I always love the bit at the end where he's like jumps on the... it's not a console, is it? But he's like, "Hello, boys, welcome to the party," or whatever, and then blows the spaceship up.
Yeah.
And, what a way to go, sort of thing. But no, I think it's a story I really like. So it's sad to hear that he's passed on. But 79, he was
indeed
79.
Yes.
So Rodney Bewes.
Next up, and our last bit of news, we've had a really cool. So last week we told you to keep your ears to the ground and your eyes peeled within the first sort of half an hour to an hour of Children in Need that was on last Friday, because they always give us a little Doctor Who upcoming preview / snippet / trailer / teaser / whatever. And it was a pretty good one this time.
It was.
It was a couple of minutes long, and it was all three of our main cast for the Christmas special inside the TARDIS. We had Capaldi and David Bradley as the first Doctor, having what looks like a a brilliant time acting those parts out, and then we have Mark Gatiss as the World War One, or at his point in his timeline, just the World War soldier. Because that's a great little bit where Capaldi calls him, judging from the World War One uniform, and he's like, one, because obviously at that point he doesn't know that there's going to be a Second World War and all that stuff. So that's great writing there. But it's more the thing that's awesome about that is the relationship between Capaldi and Bradley.
Yeah, definitely.
As you would completely fully expect, they don't like each other. Very much at all. Bradley's sort of nailing this Hartnell-esque grumpy. What the blazes is all going on, and Capaldi's just got his impatient, crotchety kind of, he hasn't got time to explain it all, and it's not until he shows him his sort of regeneration energy that's sort of leaking out of his hand a little bit that the First Doctor sort of clicks what's going on. And it's a fantastic little couple of minutes, isn't it? I can't wait for it.
It is. It really, really whet my appetite for the Christmas special. And like you, I've watched it so many times. I keep for a 2-minute clip. The things that come through for me was, first of all, the chemistry between the two of them, brilliant. Gatiss as well, very good. And it's really funny because it's like it genuinely made me laugh. A lot of the bits that really hit the mark in terms of the comedy in the space of 2 minutes. Like sometimes the Moffat, his comedy just doesn't land for me, and with this every single one did. I think because of just the way it was played. I mean, Bradley just walking in, it's just the first few seconds, even those, I just love it because he walks in all like, come and have a look at this.
He bursts in,
and then the doors open and it's like, what's this? What have you done to my TARDIS? I've been burgled. It looks awful. And then Capaldi trying to be all smug by guessing that he's World War One by the costume, and then realizing he's completely put his foot in. Brilliant. The amount of brilliant one-lines in this space of 2 minutes just made me think, God, if the rest of the episode is this good, we're in for a real treat. I loved it. And I just loved the bit where Bradley's like, enough of this. What's going on? I thought, yes, he's really, I'm loving him as the First Doctor. So yeah, I loved it, mate. I just keep watching it. I really loved the clip.
Yeah, it's brilliant casting, isn't it? David Bradley is so good as Hartnell.
And also the fact they had the TARDIS, like the we can confirm that, can't we? It's got to be
Mondas.
Mondas, yeah, because you can see the TARDIS with that funny little sheen outside. It's like, there's your TARDIS.
Yes.
It's just so good. I loved it.
It's awesome. I can't wait for the because before, like these, any kind of special like Day of the Doctor or the Christmas special over the years or whatever it might be, or a regeneration story, it does carry that certain weight of expectation, doesn't it? That you're definitely, your expectations are definitely higher because it's a special. It's not just a run of the mill, mid-series episode. And I was worried. I was a little bit like, how on earth are they going to spin this? Because it's not only is it a regeneration story for Capaldi, but we've got the First Doctor thrown in there as well. And is Mark Gatiss's character, is that the brig? Is that a young brigadier? Is that, a lot of people have said that, is that the young
brig?
No,
I hadn't thought about that, no.
I don't think it is, but so I was worried. I was like, how are they going to, or how is the Moff going to spin this into a decent story that's going to be no longer than an hour?
Yeah, that's what I keep thinking. Yeah, an hour. Yeah.
So it's not that long really when you've got, it's no different than Day of the Doctor where you have, 3 Doctor characters, in that story, and you have to push it along, but still have an enjoyable watch. So it is a challenge, but based on this clip, I can't wait. I think just watching Capaldi and Bradley are going to be so good.
So much fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I get the impression it's going to be really fun and also really sad when Capaldi leaves, because I think it is. It is. We're going to be bawling our eyes out by the end of this. I'm telling you now, because I love him as the Doctor anyway, but I think by the time he goes at the end of this, what looks like a really fun Christmas romp, I just know I'm going to be in bits.
It's going to be
Jodie
awful.
comes on. I probably won't even hear Jodie's first words. I'll be too busy wailing tears of sorrow. Yeah, it's going to be so sad to see him go.
Well, I'm going to have to be careful with this because I'm not in the UK over
and
Christmas.
nor am I. No,
So-
we're both in the same boat, aren't we? Well, both in the same situation.
Yeah, because I'm going to be 5 hours behind. So it's going to have to absolutely be one of those days where I just leave the phone switched off or just not have Twitter open or anything, because that is going to kill. If I see like loads of stuff about his final scenes and his final line and all that, and Jodie's first line, and that's going to kill me. So we're really going to have to be strict.
I know. To be honest, it's just the fact I'm not going to be able to see it on Christmas Day is going to be enough to destroy me, because I'm going to be in the depths of goodness knows where in China, and I won't get to see it until the 28th or not. I can't remember. I won't get to see it for days after it's aired. And the only good thing is where I am, I don't think there's going to be much internet, so I might manage to avoid spoilers. But inside, I'm going to be just absolutely screaming, because I'll have probably be nearly a week after it airs until I get to see it, and that's going to really kill. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's going to be. I just can't wait. If there's any way that I can find it over there, then I will. But I don't think so, because we're going to be in the middle, we are literally going to be in the middle of nowhere, to quote my catchphrase. We really are this time. So the chances of me seeing it at the time are very, very slim. But yeah, it's the thing I'm looking forward to, though, because I'll get back. You know, you have the holiday blues. Oh no, the holiday's over. But at least I'll have that to look forward to when I get back. You know, I just hope I don't come back and hear, oh, it's really disappointing. Oh, it's a terrible story. And you know what I mean? I hope I don't come back to that. I hope I come back and everyone's like going, oh my God, it's amazing. You know, you're going to love it. And that's what I'm hoping. I don't want another Time of the Doctor on my hands.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, is
it Time of the Doctor? Matt Smith's
Yep.
mess of a regeneration story. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, it's going to be the opposite for me. I'm going to be crowded by so many people. I don't want to be around people. I just have to.
Oh yeah.
Hoy the family into the hotel room in the evening, and I don't even know what time it's on in America. I think it's on like 6-7 p.m. in the evening or something like that. But even then, I know I miss it. I know I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, but you're like me, aren't you, as well? I don't even try and watch Doctor Who on Christmas Day now, because it's impossible with all the noise and family. I have to watch it, you know, when I get home and everyone's gone and, you know, there's no one around. I have to watch it in peace.
Yeah, no, I'm the same.
Yeah.
Kindred spirits. That's a good point, actually. I'll have to let you guys know when we're going to be off for Crimbo, because Adam and I will be away for a couple of weeks. So you won't hear our voice. We won't be annoying you on a Friday for a couple of weeks over Crimbo and New Year. So we'll let you know soon when that's going to be.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's rocking around quite quick, isn't it? Yeah,
so fast. Crikey Moses. Now, shall we get our rusty friend in?
Enough of this. You know. I can't stop doing it. Yeah, let's get him in.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Only one bit of merch.
Yeah, but he just come in, throw it on, and out he goes.
Well, that's it. Yeah, didn't even have time to
drops on the floor, dents it all. Don't worry, no care.
Didn't have time to ask how he was or anything.
He's wheeled out.
Although that is slightly worrying, though, because that means he's rushing back to tinker with something he shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I have to go and check after we finish recording. See what he's up to. Anyways, bookworms will love this. The Doctor Who. If you remember these books that came out, have these been released singularly? Or because it does ring a bell. This Doctor Who Time Lord Fairy Tales. It does ring a bell.
Yeah, they've definitely been out before.
They have.
I'm sure that, unless they're a new batch of them. Because my friends got this. I remember her saying, like, you know, I got this off Amazon really cheap. And I was like, oh, what a lovely box set. And I was thinking, I wonder if I can sneak that in the house. And I never got around to ordering it. But whether it's another batch of different stories or just the same in a new slipcase, I don't know.
Let's investigate. So, basically, it's the time... Oh, this has been out before as like a paperback edition. But these must be new stories. Yes, they are. Yes. So, 16 little hardback stories all fit into this very nice little slipcase container, which looks quite nice, actually. And all the spines are like different colours and One thing that I will say about these books, which you don't get annoyingly on the DVDs or Blu-rays for Doctor Who, is that the logos line up.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
That does make a difference.
For people that don't get this, Adam's exactly the same as me when it concerns this sort of thing. But when I look at my shelf downstairs, I've got all of the classic DVDs and all of the Blu-rays and whatnot and DVDs since 2005 as well. When you look across the shelf, absolutely none of it lines up.
No, I know.
Not one bit. There might be like a handful of classic DVDs where they line up for a bit, but then something will throw it out. And that drives me bloody insane.
I know, there was no continuity at all. I remember Clayton Hickman saying like how much trouble he went to try and make sure all the classic spines matched and stuff. And then they go and release all these other things that then it completely throw. In fact, he was saying he did that for the new Shada release. He made sure that the flip cover
that's right. Yep.
perfectly matched. And then they turned around and said, no, they rejected it. So I'm really worried now what we're going to get. Probably won't even get a flip cover.
God. Actually, interesting. I know we're getting off point here a little bit, but a really cool Doctor Who artist, which probably most of you will know of, a guy called Will Brooks, who does a lot of the cover art for the Titan comics and some of the Big Finish stuff and so on. I think Big Finish, or, book stuff, really cool Doctor Who designer, artist. He actually posted on Twitter around the same time as this conversation of these really cool custom box set sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
That he did. And they looked really good. So he'd basically got these multi-pack DVD containers, the ones that flip inside and you can put like 10 discs or whatever in there.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah, he'd basically bought a dozen of those and just grouped all of the series and classic DVDs, Doctors all together. And he made these really nice custom sleeves that go in the case. That would be cool to do something like that.
It would. Some of the fan stuff is amazing. And yeah, sorry to just keep off track for a second, but also did you see the guy who did because the new Series 10 DVD has no information on the discs or packaging about what's on any of the discs. And I was thinking, blimmin' X. So somebody's actually gone and put together a really nice little booklet with the information on. And I can't remember who it was that did that. But I can't get over that because we were saying a couple of podcasts back how expensive the set is. Yeah. And we were sort of saying I was bound to come down, and it come down about £1. We were sort of saying, well, I'm not going to buy it till it comes down cheaper.
Yeah.
And so it's probably the most expensive a complete series set's been on release, and it's really shoddy. It's like it hasn't even got any information on what's on the disc, so you have to sort of put them in to find out. You don't know who the commentaries are. It doesn't tell you who's on the commentary. It's really shoddy for a complete, supposed to be like the definitive box set, isn't it? And I didn't realize either that disc 6 or whatever it is, or the last disc, is purely a disc of the fan show.
That's right. Yep.
Which, nothing against the fan show, but blimmin' heck, that's so lazy. Like they haven't even put the the introductory Bill video, her extended scene when she got introduced with the Daleks. As far as I'm aware, anyway, I'm sure I read that. They haven't even included that. It seems like a really shoddily put together complete set. Yeah. I'm almost tempted to say to people, get the parts 1 and 2 with the nice postcards, because it seems almost better value, really. But I don't know. I mean, I'm nothing to anyone that's bought it, because I'm sure it's a nice set, but it's just, in terms of the BBC putting care into their releases, it's a far cry from when we look back to the RTD era, and
crikey.
Those box sets are beautiful, like the menus and everything. There's so much care put into them, and the commentaries. You used to get commentaries and all the eps. And anyway, I'll stop now. But you get the point.
We read you, mate.
Yeah,
and we feel you. We feel you.
And I've just been following Clayton Hickman, who's been sort of really, really sort of mouthing off about BBC Worldwide recently, and some of the stuff he's saying is so interesting. There's obviously a lot of stuff kicking off at BBC Worldwide, and none of it's better. Mm-hmm. Makes me worry about future releases. But I think he might be one of my favourite people I follow on Twitter, Clayton Hickman. He's so entertaining. It seems brilliant. Like he's kind of took the bars off now. He likes to used to, I think, he doesn't hold back these days, and I love it.
Yeah, if you don't follow Clayton, anybody, just go over to Twitter. His Twitter name is his name. Just do a search for Clayton Hickman. And it's really cool. He was putting some he notices the smallest things as well. He was putting some pictures on Twitter last night or the night before of a couple of characters from Red Dwarf.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
They had used, like, as part of their badges on their uniform, had used, like, the leftovers from a set from Doctor Who from, like, 20 years before that or something. And he noticed it, he doesn't miss a trick. He notices all these little things. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah. So, if you don't follow Clayton, just you won't be disappointed. And him and Will Brooks together, their discussions about the differences between all the different Doctors' TARDISes over the years is absolutely brilliant. Because they can look at a TARDIS and say, that's the Pertwee TARDIS from this year, but the door was changed to use it on this episode. And they'll name, like, the guy who painted the door back in 1969 or whatever, and they'll tell you in depth, just by looking at a photograph of, like, a piece of a TARDIS, they'll say, yep, it was this series, this Doctor, this guy painted it, this removal van moved it to that set, and do all from just one photo.
And it's thanks to them that we now know what the TARDIS is in the Who shop. Although we don't want to open that can of worms again. But
oh God!
But yeah. But they knew straight away, didn't they? They were like, no.
Yeah. Those Series 10 Blu-rays and DVDs still haven't come down on Amazon.
Yeah. It's just shocking. They're so expensive, and just seems like they've really sort of rushed it out.
Yeah.
Shame on you, BBC Worldwide.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
Books.
Yes. So Doctor Who, the Time Lord fairy tale slipcase, 16 hard cover, little thin books. And apparently there's a new story that's been released for this one called The Emperor Dalek's New Clothes.
Emperor Dalek's New Clothes.
Take from that what you will. Basically, it says it contains legendary stories of monsters, mysteries, villains and heroes from across the Whoniverse. A beautifully illustrated collection of dark and dangerous Whovian fairy tales. This slipcase is the perfect gift for any true Doctor Who fan.
Oh, no. I don't feel like a true fan now. I haven't got it.
Man.
It was. I'll tell you what, it's worth keeping. If you want this, it's worth keeping an eye on the price, because at the minute it's around about $16.89 on Amazon, but it does keep popping in and out of their Black Friday sale. Yes. So if you're listening to this when on day of release, then have a look, because it was going for £10, which is quite a nice little price.
Yeah, it was £10.
Yeah,
the other day. It's now 16. Yeah, like you say, 16. But yeah, if you're into this sort of thing, then keep an eye on stuff. Yes. So anyway, we didn't speak about the books for most of that, but there we are. There's the books. And that's going to do for news and merch. Right. Adam. What are we doing for our last revisit?
It feels different this time. Yeah. We're doing the Fifth Doctor's regeneration story, The Caves of Androzani.
Androzani Major was becoming quite developed last time I passed this way. You see, the core of this planet is superheated primeval mud. When its orbit takes it close to Androzani Major, the gravitational pull...
Oh, I get the picture. Mud baths for everyone. It reminds me why we came here.
Keep still.
What is it?
It's all also captured a dump of gas weapons.
If Sheriff's Jack gets his hands on gas weapons, we'll be in the devil's chair.
You're dying. It's called spectroxtoxemia. I've seen dozens die from it. What's the cure? Oh, there's no cure.
You have the mouth of a crackling jackanapes. But your eyes, they tell a different story.
Something is happening I don't quite understand.
It's stinging!
It's called spectroxtoxemia. I've seen dozens die from it.
I don't think he likes us very much.
Peter Davison goes out with a bang.
Not enough time.
It's all over, Doctor.
It's time to say goodbye.
Say farewell to Peter Davison in The Caves of Androzani. Starts tomorrow at 11:50 on UK Gold.
You gotta love those old
UK Gold. TV. Wow, that's a blast from the past. That is.
And they used a different theme in the background. It's like
I could hear it. It's a very jangly sort of
a souped up, jazzed up version.
I've heard that before. I'm trying to think what that's from.
You almost want to.
Yeah, it's a bit. I was going to say I was kind of like swaying to it. I was like,
click of the old fingers going on.
the Fifth Doctor goes out with a bang. Very good. BBC announcer. Very good.
Right, The Caves of Androzani reviewed first by me back at episode 1.
Episode 1!
So we've come full circle.
Where it all began.
Yes, our very last ever podcast episode, 166. That's where we finished. A joke, of course. Anyway, The Caves of Androzani was first on our screens March 1984. It was a four-parter, and it was written by Robert Holmes, directed by Graham Harper, and overseen by Eric Sayward, along with John Nathan Turner.
Yeah.
And the story is there are two planets, Androzani Minor and Androzani Major. And Androzani Major, get this right, Androzani Major is where all of the highfalutin politicians are based and the working folk and all that jazz. But over on Androzani Minor, that is where a substance is mined called spectrox. And this is like, give you kind of extended life, if you like. It's almost like a kind of like a fountain of youth kind of story, where this spectrox, people take it like very tiny, tiny doses each day, but it prolongs their life essentially. And due to that, it's obviously very valuable. So you have people who are on Androzani Minor who are mining this stuff. But there's this guy called Sharaz Jek, who was sort of taken up home deep within the tunnels, mined it all for himself, basically, sitting on tons and tons of it. The army's there to try and they're sort of fighting this little guerrilla-style warfare where his androids, Jek's androids, are fighting the army and they're trying to get this spectrox. And there's also these little gang of rebels who are like supplying arms to Jarek, and in return he's giving them spectrox to take back to the this very cruel person, Morgus, to build up his own private, evil, selfish stocks. And in the middle of all this, as you would expect, the Doctor and Perry sort of land in the middle of it all. But on this story, there's a bit of a twist. Unfortunately, one of them does not survive. So very early on, both of them get exposed to raw spectrox and develop something called spectrox toxemia. And the only way to cure said disease or virus, whatever, is from the milk of a bat that happens to live miles underneath the surface. The Doctor manages to get some, but only one dosage, not enough for two people. So he obviously saves Perry and then regenerates into the Sixth Doctor. So, Caves. We can go into this fresh because you and I have never reviewed it.
Yes.
Before. So what do you reckon to this one? Often viewed as one of the best stories from all of Classic Who. What do you reckon?
It's certainly a very good story, in my opinion. I do like it a lot. Whether I'd class it as one of the best, I don't think I would. No. Although I do really enjoy it. I think it's up there. I think it's up there as a classic. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's more one for perhaps for Doctor Who fans rather than casual viewer or someone. You know, it's not one that I'd grab to introduce somebody to Doctor Who. But it is a very good story. Watching it again this week, I sort of found almost a newfound love for it, actually, because I've always liked it. But as I said, it's never one that I would sort of watch over and over again. Of just always one that I'd enjoy. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed watching it again this week. And one thing that struck me is how gritty and dark it is on the rewatch. Because I went off Doctor Who, you know, when this was aired as a kid, because after this in Conor Baker's era, it became too dark and quite violent. I didn't like it. So I always think of the Peter Davison era as being much more fluffy and light. And I can see now that by the time we get to this story that we are starting to transition into that darker, grittier tone. But I think it works well in this story because I don't think any of the violence or darkness is particularly gratuitous, which I think a lot of the Conor Baker era was.
Right.
So for me, yeah, it's a very good story. And as I said, I really enjoyed watching it again this week. And yeah, I thought it was very good. I would have listened to your review back in episode 1, but I can't remember your thoughts. So do tell me, do you like this one?
I do like this one. I think this is an awesome Doctor Who story from the classic years. I think, I probably wouldn't say that it's the best. I wouldn't say that it sits up there with. I mean, these things are subjective anyway, but I probably wouldn't say that it sits up there as number one story. Although it's often looked at, as right up there with one of the best. I do think it would definitely be in my top 5. For sure.
I was going to say my top 10. Yeah, it might be in my top 5, but it's definitely in my top 10.
Okay, yeah, it's in my top 5 for sure, and it's a cracking story. And I like the fact that it is a bit darker than what we'd seen up to that point. It does. It's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like Robert Holmes, just like a switch went up. Someone turned a switch, and he's like, "Yes, we're gonna do a dark story to close off Davison's era," because it does sort of usher in that darker tone of Doctor Who. Because, like you say, Colin Baker's era does have some very dark.
Yeah, so it's quite nasty, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can tell that they're already thinking about that stuff because of the tone of the story and some of the scenes and so on. But I quite like the fact that the Doctor's very vulnerable in this one.
He really gets put through the mill.
He does.
In this. I was watching it by the time we got to episode 4, and he's like falling down sand cliffs and being shot at and beat up, and I was thinking, blimey, the Fifth Doctor's really put through it in this. And it's good actually, because it's good to see the Doctor not being so in control, isn't it? Like, I mean, he's really, by the end of it, he's really going for it, especially the end, the cliffhanger of episode 3 is amazing, where he's like, "You're not going to stop me this time." He's really going for it, and it's really good to see Davison pushing his Doctor to those extremes, actually. It works really well, I think.
It does, mate, and that's one of the things that I like about it the most. And anyone that hasn't seen the story, you should probably stop listening because even though you probably know that this is Davison's last story, he does, like you say, he does go through, he gets his ass kicked, numerous times in this story. And I like that because, like you say, normally the Doctor's got this quiet confidence about him and he's got a bit of a plan. And you always know that he's going to save the day or whatever. But in this one, you do genuinely feel, even if you, say, for example, if they hadn't of put this as a regeneration story, say if him and Perry did survive at the end, you still genuinely feel like he's absolutely on the ropes and you're not sure if he's going to be able to save himself and Perry. And because you have this whole thing where they're caught up in this kind of ongoing war, if you like, between, over the Spectrox stuff. They do get caught up in all the politics of it and the military side of things. You got that all going on. And they just get sort of beaten from one pillar to the next, if you like. And on top of that, they have this Spectrox thing, which is sort of slowly killing them. So you genuinely feel like, is he actually going to be able to pull out of this one? And, he obviously doesn't, as this, as Davison's Doctor, if you like. But I like that's a constant thing running through the story. It's like he's not only has he got to contend with Jack, this sort of Phantom of the Opera style crazy, nutbag, and his androids. He's also got to contend with the army, who think they're spies or gun runners and stuff like that. He's also got to contend with the rebels, these kind of Stotts and those lot. So not only have they got to deal with all that and try and escape or do whatever, but they're also up against the clock because, as Sellotape told them when they were captured, that they've got, he starts cracking up. Oh, you've got Spectre.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're against the clock as well. So it really feels like this sort of constant sense of foreboding, like, it's really not in a good, they're not in a good way at all.
I really like that scene.
He just starts cracking up, doesn't he?
Because it's just because Davison's so good in it. He's so angry as well, isn't he? That Matey finds it funny.
Yeah, Matey. Yeah. So I like the vulnerability of Davison's Doctor in this one. It really sells the story. Because it would have been easy, we say this a lot, don't we? It could have been all too easy for him to play the confident Doctor, which he starts out as, especially with Jack, which is hilarious. It could have been easy to continue that all the way through the story, and then all of a sudden, the Doctor's regenerate, he's gone. So I like it that they build it up across the four parts. So that's why I like it a lot. And also I think Jack is a great, intense, crazy, villain in this. He turns out to be, he sort of saves Perry, doesn't he? At the end, he sort of keeps her while the Doctor's off getting the bat milk. He sort of keeps her, alive, sort of thing. And he's genuinely worried about her. He's sort of fallen in love with her, sort of pretty fast and hard. But other than that, it's just a good old case of revenge for him, really, against Morgus.
He's superb, isn't he? That guy, Christopher Gable, Shara's Jack. I gotta say, because he's not one dimensional, is he? He's not, like you said, he's not just this sort of pantomime villain. He's actually sort of, although he's quite nasty and twisted and that, he's also got this other side of him that he explains why he's like he is because of what's happened to him, and towards the end, it's sort of genuine affection, and he gives Perry away to try and save her, and there is a sort of good side to him. So it's a very nice, rounded character, brilliantly performed by Christopher Gable. His performance is excellent in it, actually. Really, really sort of carried the story along nicely. Rewatching this the other night, I'll tell you one thing: I really wasn't bored as well. This is one story that I really got engrossed in, and I watched it 2 episodes at a time. So I watched 2 and then 2 the following evening. And I just thought it really flowed along nicely. There's loads going on. Like I said, there's lots of little side stories and power struggles, and there's genuine threat. Like you said about the Doctor as well, you really do feel they're in danger, which is good. And I think a lot of it's down to the direction of Graham Harper, because he doesn't shy away from any of the grittiness. I mean, there's loads of killing in this. By episode 4, I was thinking, blimey, there's like people gunning each other down, and this is quite adult, actually. This is quite adult Doctor Who. And the bit where Jack's mask gets pulled off and he's running around the floor on his knees, and it's really some really great horror moments in this. Kind of remind me of the Hinchcliffe era, a little bit like Talons, which is written by Robert Holmes. So there's the same sort of thing of someone lurking under the theatre, but if anything, I find Jack slightly more rounded character, and although he's not particularly nice, you do sort of almost sympathise with him when Perry screams when she finally sees about the mask, and he's like, she's horrified, isn't she? And he's carrying away, and there's some great horrific, proper scary Doctor Who moments in this. And
there's also one thing that always puts a villain up in my estimation, is when they dish out any kind of backhander.
Oh, Davison gets
he gets a whopper of a
He does. What does he say? He says something really flippant, doesn't he? And he really gets a... The only thing is he grabs his neck, and if you watch it, Jack slaps him around the face. It's quite convincing until he grabs his neck. But anyway, yeah.
It's a beauty. It's a
belter.
It is, isn't it? Because he doesn't. It comes out of nowhere as well.
Yeah, I know.
He's talking to somebody else, and the Doctor stood behind him, and it's almost like in his mind he thought, "Oh, I remember that little insult from earlier," and he just turns around and gives him a shot right across.
brings him back down to earth. Yeah,
it's the sound effect as well. I always feel like that character from Catherine Tate when we're talking about backhanders. I don't know if anyone's seen the Catherine Tate show, but there's that one scene where the woman character's all quite normal. It's the only word I can describe. There's one where she gets in the cab and she's like, "Oh, this destination, please," and they pull up at traffic lights, and then those dudes run out who always start cleaning your windscreen without you asking. And she's like, "Yeah, you should get out there and give him a backhander. Go on, give him one swift backhander. Go on, right across the chops, a good old backhand." But yeah, any villain in Doctor Who that can dish out a solid backhander is,
and he certainly can.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he is pretty intense as well, isn't he? Like you said, he's quite convincing as that scary. Sort of, you just never quite know. Like you said, that kind of comes out of nowhere. You just never know when he's going to just have a little moment and flip. But yeah, he's quite intense. It'd be a fun guest at a dinner party, wouldn't it? You just would never, you wouldn't want him carrying a tray of drinks.
That's true. Yes, it feels like he's had like several pints of coffee, and someone's really wound him up. You know when certain people in your life that you've known, friends or family or whoever, you just know how to push someone's buttons. If you want to wind someone up. His character feels like that. It feels like he's had loads of coffee and someone's really wound him up. So he's constantly like on edge. Do you know what I mean by that? So,
yeah. And also, I suppose with the Doctor as well, because Davison's quite flippant with him to begin with. And like you said, it makes for some great scenes.
Yeah.
So he does kind of push his buttons.
It's great because he delivers that cool line, doesn't he? He's like, one day your sense of humour will be the death of you, Doctor, or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and at the time you think, yeah, whatever, but then literally within an hour and a half, the Doctor's gone. He's out of here. So
he's out of it.
Yeah, but yeah, we've kind of fast forwarded. We always speak about the villain and the Doctor at the end, don't we? But we've sort of fast forward along. But he's such a good villain, though. That's the thing. It does have. There are times when he's a little bit OTT with it. There are times when he does really, he's hamming it up quite a lot. But I don't really mind that, to be honest, because I think he's such a unhinged, sort of removed character that, there are not many rules to govern what you should be doing, really, as that kind of person. If you're sort of unhinged and you're sort of driven by revenge and you've just got this, you're living every day sort of fueled on hatred for somebody, and you've got nothing else in your life, and your physical scars have now turned into mental scars, and you're just a bit of that kind of character. There's nobody really to say, well, you should have played it like this. There are no rules, which is... But he does properly... Is he as bad as our good old... What's his face?
Collins. David Collins.
Yeah. Is he as bad as him?
I don't. No, I think he's excellent in it. No,
he's brilliant.
Yeah. I was gonna say I don't. I wouldn't say he hams it up particularly. I don't know. I thought he was superb in it. I really, really liked his character.
Okay, it was just some of the moments, like when he has his mask ripped off, and then he goes over to Perry, and she screams, and then he sort of, he does a little bit.
No, if I was going to say somebody had been to the David Collins School of Acting, I might have probably gone more for Morgus. Who seems to talk to himself. Yeah. I was wondering what was going on in that scene. I was thinking, who's he talking to? Is he supposed to be looking at a scanner? Or he'll be having a conversation, then he'll just turn away from the person he's talking to and talk to himself. They're going to fire the missile. Somebody's plotting against me. Who could it be? And then he turns back and carries on the conversation. It's a very strange performance. It's very strange scene that. And I think it's only once he does it, isn't it? There's one scene where he does that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. It's a bit odd.
Now, that's interesting you bring that up, because we'll get on to Morgus. Well, why not? Let's go on to Morgus then. He's like the evil behind the scenes.
I bet you cracked it when you pushed that president down the lift. I was imagining you laughing when I saw that.
Yeah, that's in my notes to discuss later. Any other thing you'll notice, the two I've got is Perry's roly-poly through the cave where she's meant to be dropping down.
Oh, yeah.
into the
I noticed that.
And Morgus pushing the president down the lift shaft. But yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I'm confused about something, and one of our listeners is as well. Yeah. So our friend Sammy from Down Under, who sent in an audio clip, mentions this in her thing, where she says she's not sure why Morgus keeps breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he's doing that or if he's looking just slightly past camera, or because it does appear that the first time he does it, it does appear that the scene sort of stops and he turns round and it appears that he's looking into the camera and talking to us as the audience. And then the people who are also in the scene are just sort of stood there like, while he's doing his little fourth wall thing. And then when he turns around, it's like, and resume, like back to normal.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's the case, or if he's looking just slightly off camera, and he's looking right down like a few millimeters away from the lens. I'm not sure. Maybe you can give me your view on this.
I don't know. It's a very strange performance, isn't it? I mean, his performance overall is quite odd. It does kind of work for me though, but I almost expected him to be revealed as an android at the end. Right. I'm serious, because he does play it a bit like, I'm not quite human, doesn't he?
I see.
Do you know what I mean? So I was thinking, is he one of Shrek's androids or something? Because this is all a bit odd. But no, it turns out he is just a bit odd. But I don't know what the whole talking to the wall thing was about. And it's strange because, like you said, it's only in a couple of scenes, and it's all a bit odd. And it's a strange direction, actually, to be given. I assume he was given it, but yeah, his really performance is odd, though, isn't it? Like the way he acts is, he's sort of playing it. I don't know what he's trying to do. Is he sort of being not human, or what's he going for in that performance? I'm never quite sure.
Yeah, it's weird. I think he's just been given the direction of, we need this cold-hearted, ruthless. So in a way, he almost is sort of non-human, because he doesn't have a compassionate bone in his body anywhere. Because he labels himself as the richest person across the 4 planets or 4 moons or something like that. So he probably is playing it slightly removed from being generally human, because he has no compassion for anything or anyone. He's just consumed by greed so much. Do you know what I mean? He's thoroughly evil as well, because the bit where after he pushes the president down the lift, he then orders the lift maintenance man to be shot. And I thought, what a beep. That's naughty.
What a beep. Yeah. He really is, isn't he? Just really nasty piece of work. You can't wait. He's one of those people as well that you can't wait for him to get his comeuppance. Like, I was laughing when Jack goes mad at the end, and he's really laying into Morgus. I was like, you've had that coming, mate. You've had that coming. Yeah. He's a thoroughly nasty piece of work, and
he is.
I kind of like the performance, but I also find it very odd.
It's weird, isn't it? It's one of those performances where you kind of buy into it because he's so nasty, and you want him to get his comeuppance. And the only reason why you feel that way is because John Normington has sold it that way in his performance. You kind of connect to that type of evil character where it's like, boo.
It's a little bit pantomime, isn't it, as well?
But it's a good performance, though. I think it's not necessarily him. I think he's just been directed that way to be a bit of an oddball. It's almost like the feeling that I get behind the script with this, based on the story, I'm assuming by Robert Holmes, is that him and Jack have both been twisted in different ways. That's what I get from the story anyway. So you've got, because Jack does explain that those two were kind of in cahoots together initially, and it was Morgus that kind of plotted to have Jack killed so that he could have all the Spectrox and all the money for himself. So Morgus he's been sort of corrupted and twisted by greed because he's made so much money from the Spectrox. He's almost like, human life doesn't mean anything. You can kill people left, right and centre, and, he's got power hungry and greed. Whereas Jack has been motivated and twisted by revenge because of what's been done to him. So you have the pair of them really that are sort of cut from the same cloth, if that makes sense. The two of them are mad as hatters between them, but they're motivated by slightly different things. But both of them are, completely potty.
And it's a good way of looking at it, and it's a great piece of writing by Robert Holmes, that, isn't it? I love the way that he's done that, because it totally makes sense, doesn't it? You can see why they're like how they are.
Yes,
which is really good. Yeah.
And I wonder what the Target novel's like as well. I wonder how Terrance Dicks approaches this story, and because he's very, very good at filling in gaps, isn't he? Terrance Dicks in the Target novel. So it might be interesting to pick that one up, actually. I've not read that one.
No, I haven't read it. And actually, if there is one gap I'd like filled in, it's kind of the whole thing of Jack being this amazing creator of lifelike androids, because it kind of gets glossed over in this a little bit. And if anything, that's the only thing that really brings the story down to me, is that, we're told that he's amazing at creating these androids, and we see the sort of prototype ones with no faces. But then, on the other hand, we get to see ones like the Doctor and Perry ones that he makes. When does he make them?
In a matter of hours as well.
In a matter of hours, and how can they be that lifelike? I don't know. So we kind of have to just go with it, don't we? We don't really get to see how or how he's managed to do these things. And I think that's a great cliffhanger to episode 1, where the Doctor and Perry are being executed. But I find the resolution a little bit like, oh yeah, they were androids. Okay, move on. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
So that could do with a little bit of filling in, I think. Even if we sort of see the prototypes, but you know what I mean? How does he make him so lifelike like that? I just don't find that particular part of the story that convincing.
Yeah, that's one of the. There's a couple of things in this story that are very sort of loose, and that part of it for me is very, I can't get my head around that for a couple of reasons. The first one is he doesn't actually have any reference to go on, other than a very small black and white image from a camera somewhere.
Yeah,
And second of all, it seems like at the end. Towards the end of that story of episode 1, they get executed at the end. About 5 minutes before that, that's when you kind of, you guess anyway that's when the switch happens, and it's very bizarre because they're trapped in that cell, Perry and the Doctor, and they can see out through the bars what's going on. But then there's this scene where somebody seems to just pull a curtain aside.
Yeah.
The Doctor's like walking up and down and pacing before that. And he's like, how are we going to, he's racking his brains about how they're going to escape from this prison cell. But it seems like there's just a curtain at the back of the prison cell, because all you see is a hand come in shot and sort of move it to the side. And I'm assuming that's when the switch happens between him, Perry, and their android equivalents. So that didn't hold water with me at all.
In fact, if you blink, you'd have missed it, because in actual fact, I did, because I hadn't noticed that on the rewatch. But now you've told me, I do remember it from watching it before, but I actually completely missed that this time around watching it. So I must have blinked and missed it.
I'm assuming that's when the switch happened. But
you must be right. Yeah,
but it just seems bizarre that they're trapped in the cell and they just don't seem to notice. The back wall is just a curtain. They can just move aside and off they go. But so that there are a couple of things in this story that are a little bit
should we mention at this point the magma creature, as we're talking about bits that don't particularly work that well? I mean, to be fair to Graham Harper, you can tell that he's tried to keep it off screen as much as possible, hasn't he? It's really quick shots we get of it.
Dark light in and
dark light in, but even that just cannot save it. I mean, it does look bad. There's no two ways around it. It's a shame because, as I said, this feels like a very adult story for much of it. So, like, you've got, that scene when Stotts has got what's his name, Krepler over the cliff, and he's shoving that pill in his mouth with a knife in it. That's a really nasty scene.
That's horrific.
It's really adult. And then you go from that to this rubbery creature creeping up on the Doctor behind a rock, and it looks terrible and really cheap. And it's not cheap, but it just doesn't look good. And you sort of think, gosh, this really goes from being dark and gritty to that's a shame.
To OMG.
And it's thankfully it's not on the screen long, but it has because that's one of the cliffhangers, isn't it? It's a shame because you've got the first cliffhanger where they're being executed is brilliant. Then you've got the magma creature coming towards the camera and it looks terrible, so that's a shame. And then you've got the cliffhanger with the Doctor saying on the spaceship. It's an amazing cliffhanger to episode 3 where it's like, nothing can stop me now, and he's really shouting. It's a brilliant. So you've got two really great cliffhangers, but this one in the middle just really let down by the creature. And it's one of those things in the Davison era, isn't it? I think we get it a few times.
We do. The Tetraps.
No, that's Tetraps 7.
Of course, yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. I'm thinking of what's the one in Warren? Oh, Pteroleptils. Oh, yeah.
They look like rubber suit, don't they?
They do look rubbery. What's the one in I want to say, what's it called? The one that's in Warriors of the Deep, the big.
The
the Mel something. Yeah. Anyway, that thing, you know, so poor old Davison, his stories are often let down by these terrible, you know, creatures, which, you know, I know it's of the time, and I suppose in a way we love them, but I just think in this particular story, because it is so good in other parts, it's such a shame when we get to that bit. But
yeah, he didn't have the best of luck with that sort of thing, and the pteroleptils as well. They were, that was just basically a guy in a suit with the rubbers just banging all over the place, and you can't hear his voice underneath the mask.
Yeah.
He didn't have
the Merker. The Merker.
Oh, the Merker, that's it.
I had to Google it because it was driving me mad. The Merker.
Merker with a Y.
From Warriors of the Deep.
Yeah. But no, I know what you mean. It just doesn't work. You can tell it's basically a cheap costume that's been picked up somewhere. Or parts of a costume that have been picked up and sort of hacked together.
Hand as well in that cliffhanger. It's just sort of wobbling its hand towards the camera, like whoa. You know, it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame because it's one of the few. Most of this stands up really well, I think. Mm-hmm. Once we get to episode 4, it's a fantastic episode of all the mud chutes exploding, and we get like a slowed down shot, and then it comes back into real time of the Doctor flipping over. There is some great stuff going on in this, and it's just it's just a shame that it gets let down now and again by these little bits. But that's of the time and the nature of the beast, really. Because the scenes with Davison going down to get the bat milk as well, again, but you can really see the budget restrictions in those scenes and stuff, and but it's as the time, and as I said, it doesn't really ruin it in any way for me. It's just if you could go back and do it again, you'd like to try and do it differently, I think.
Of course, I wouldn't change it now though. I wouldn't do a George Lucas and try and mess with it. But I see what you mean though. You can tell that I think that is the main thing, is the budget stuff.
Yeah, and it is mainly that the creature, isn't it? There's nothing really else that's that bad.
No. There's on the special features disc, there's 2 versions of the regeneration scene. There's one where it's just the studio sounds, where you can hear the director talking. And
I watched that one. Yeah.
And then there's another version where you've got Davison, Graham Harper, and somebody else telling you what's going on.
With the commentary. I remember that. Yeah, because he asked Davison what he's laughing at the end. And I'm screaming at the screen saying, he's laughing because his last word is Adric. We all know what he's laughing at.
Yeah.
And Davison's like, I can't remember. I think you can. You know what you're laughing at. I remember watching those,
Yeah. But they do comment, though, on that to say that, the turnaround is so quick. It's just a classic Who thing that we get used to across, hearing commentaries and watching special. Every director and everyone says the same thing, that there's no money and we have to get through it so quick. So when you've got like the script that says we need a magma creature, probably the guys who are handling that stuff are probably like, we're going to have this creature and his mouth's going to move and there's going to be some fire coming out of his nostrils and all that lot. And then they get to the budget meeting and it's like, well, you've got a $5.
Yeah.
And you've got a $10, go and make it work. So that's probably, what happened, and more so in Davison and Colin Baker's era. There's just not a lot of good stuff going on.
No, that's true. You're just talking about that, reminded me actually, but because he says about how, I think he had like 4 hours or something, didn't he, to put together, he knew what he wanted to do with the regeneration. I think he talk about the Beatles, is it A Day in the Life or something? That climatic music.
That's
and he had it all in his head what he wanted to do. And I think he had 4 hours to put all the shots together he had.
That's right.
And he said he kind of got it there, but it really wasn't how he wanted it, but he kind of made it work. So, it's one of those things there. If they'd have had more time and more money, of course.
Yeah.
But, anyway, we'll get to regeneration in a bit. We'll talk about whether we like or dislike it. But
we'll get to that in a second, actually. I just want to very quickly mention the rebel soldier dudes.
Yeah, they were definitely worth mentioning because I think they're very strong cast.
Yeah, because I like their sort of internal squabbles that, they've been promised payment for stuff and they've been left hanging, and then they get shortchanged by Jack. He's like, you're not having all of it because you didn't bring me the guns and all that stuff. So I like their sort of internal squabbling, which is good. But I thought Stotts was a very good character, actually. I thought his performance was quite cool. He's that real mercenary, not give a damn sort of thing. And that scene you mentioned where he's got Krelper by the throat over the cliff, and he's
nasty,
got the knife out.
yeah.
Some really cool stuff with those guys.
I thought they're both really good, actually. I thought the performance from both of them was really good. They seem to be totally into their characters, and it's quite believable. Like when they're being nasty. I mean, when Stotts goes out of the room and then comes back and guns them all down at the end. You know, you're like, oh, he's a nasty piece of work. He really sells it to you that he's like that. Yeah. Yeah,
it's very good. Okay, let's talk about regen then. Our end scene. I wouldn't say it's my fave regeneration scene. I mean, it's okay. I like the whole vision that Davison has, you know, when he's lying on the floor where you have his companions sort of whirling around, and then the very cool Anthony Ainley comes in and die, doctor.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, you must die.
So I quite like that. It's quite cool, but it's okay. I mean, I'm not sure about the maybe it's I don't want to sound, you know, ill towards any Colin Baker fans, but maybe it's just Colin Baker's very, very harsh first couple of lines. You know, he's very very massively confident and hard, which is not a bad thing, but I don't know, it just, when we compare the post regeneration for a lot of doctors where they have that sort of disorientated, not sure what's going on, surprise feel about them. Colin Baker's just, you know, as soon as he sits up, he's like, what's all this funny business then? Thank God I've turned up to sort this mess out.
He kind of puts Perry down from the get go, and it's a sign of things to come. And it's not very nice after what she's just been through. Yeah,
you hit the nail on the head there. Like literally the entire time those two are together, he treats her like dirt most of the time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's just a sign of things to come, really, isn't it? Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of as a regen, I think it's quite cool. I like the bit where, you know, Davison's just sort of saved the day, if you like, and you can tell he's knackered and he's about to pop it, and he does have that sort of, you know, feels different this time. That's a cool.
Yeah,
line.
I like that. It comes back to what you're saying earlier about the fact you're in peril, because he thinks he's dying. He's not even sure if he's going to regenerate, isn't he? He's like, maybe is this death? I think he says, doesn't it? And, you know, it feels different this time, and you sort of think, oh, is the regeneration going to go wrong?
Maybe I'll regenerate. He says that as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. So I like that. I like the fact that he's not certain, and I've never noticed that I always assumed that he'd just got enough bat milk for one, and I always thought, why did he do that? Why didn't he just get loads? And then I noticed on a rewatch that he trips, or is it when he gets the TARDIS key out or something, he drops the bat milk, spilling most of it, which is why he's only got enough for one, because that I never noticed that before. It was bugged me. So so that's kind of cool. So he's just got enough for her, and you know, I think it's a good way. It's a good exit for Davison's Doctor. It's great to see him going out like that, and so in those terms, I like the regeneration. At the time, I love the fact that we got all the companions swirling around with their lines. Now when I watch it, I think it's a little bit too similar to Tom, because Tom's regeneration, he has the same thing, doesn't he? Of Doctor. So this is a little bit similar, but I like the music and the way that it really, you know, he does. You know, Colin does arrive back. Talking to music, must just say I like Roger Lim's soundtrack in this.
Oh, brilliant! The soundtrack.
It really works well. Really, really works well in this story. Really and I do love that bit in the regeneration. I think the build-up, obviously they couldn't quite simulate the Beatles' Day in the Life, but it's a good build-up to the regeneration.
No, it's good. And it's almost like the regeneration between from Matt Smith to Capaldi as well. Because remember that one, it was very fast. You know, it was like that snap of lightning almost. And Bosch, you know, there wasn't any of this explosion of regeneration energy and stuff that we'd seen previous, or in classic years where we have that very slow fade from one Doctor's face into the next and all that lot. It was just very quick, like Davison's out of it, and then in a matter of seconds you've got Colin Baker springing up, and it's very quick. It's a quick regen. And
it's interesting the last words are Adric, because I mean, you know, he's no matter what you think of Adric as a character, like in terms of the storyline, the Doctor is gonna think about Adric, because obviously he'll feel responsible for him dying. So I don't know how Davison felt about Adric being the last word he said, but you know, it's kind of
probably not thrilled.
No. Actually, you know, you touched on the relationship between the Sixth Doctor and Perry, which I don't like at all, all that bickering. I just thought it was really boring. But I quite like I mean, I know Perry doesn't get a lot to do in this because she's ill for most of the story, but I kind of like the relationship between her and Five. I wish we'd perhaps seen a bit more of it, because I much prefer it to what we get later with Colin and
right.
You know, do you know what I mean? Like when they first come out of the TARDIS and she's not like whining and grisly like she does in, you know, after the story. She's kind of like, what's going on then? And there's a bit of banter between the two of them. And she's like, oh, you know it all, do you? And I thought, yeah, you know, I could have quite happily watched a bit more of these two together.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I think they work quite well. It's just we only really get 2 stories with them. I just find, and I don't blame Nicola Bryant for this, but I find her so whiny during the Colin Baker era that I actually prefer her in these 2 stories like this one and Planet of Fire.
Planet of Fire, yeah.
Because she's not written as quite as that annoying doctor.
Yeah.
You know, she's
yeah, I know what you mean. There's not that sort of teacher schoolgirl I think Colin Baker has. He's always telling her off.
Yeah,
for something,
exactly.
you know, she's almost like a naughty girl, and he's the teacher, sort of like, no, don't do this, don't do that, and it's not about this, and you know, quiet. And I know what you mean. Whereas Davison's more of a human soul, if you like. He's more of a, you know, he has a bit more tolerance and a bit more chilled out, laid back sort of attitude towards things, which suits her companion as a companion better. It
does. I was going to say, I think they just work better together, but I know we only get 2 stories with them, but I just prefer the softer side of it.
Yeah. Although she still has that annoying thing where, and again, it's nothing against Nicola Bryant, but one thing that does my head in when she's playing Perry is, Doctor, do you think that we're gonna die? She has this, I don't know, that's just,
I'm going to say, I blame the writing more than I do Nicola Bryant, but she becomes really annoying during the Colin Baker era, but I think she's okay in this. As I said, I know she's ill for a lot of it and stuff, but I think she works quite well in the story, Nicola Bryant.
Is there anything else you want to mention, mate, before we...
Well, I just want to say how great I think Davison is in it, because I think he gets a lot of people say he's like a boring, bland Doctor. Not everyone. I know he's got his fans, but you know, some people will say, "No, Davison, he's a bit run of the mill." I don't agree. I think he's fantastic in this, and he's quoted as saying, isn't he, if he'd had more stories like he got in this last series, that he would have done more and stuff. So I think he's, by this point, found the Doctor. He's really performing him well. Definitely sad to see him go, and I think he's great in the scene. He's great when he's with Jack. Really sort of good at being angry. That you know, the climax episode 3, he's absolutely on fire. And so I just want to say how good I think Davison is. And I always think when people write him off, I always think, you know, they're perhaps judging it on earlier stories, and you know, this shows the potential he had as the Doctor. So I really like him, and I just want to big him up a bit, really, because I think he deserves it. I think he's fantastic in this one. And we finally get an explanation for the celery, which he insisted on, didn't he? He insisted on. He said to J&T, "You promised. Now come on, you promised me that before I left, you'd explain why I'm wearing a piece of celery." So I don't know at what point this came in the script, but we finally get an answer for it. What is it? Something about he's allergic to certain gases, and the celery turns purple if he's near them, so he can eat it or something. It's a bit of a strange one. It's a bit of a strange, but I kind of like it.
I can't remember what spectrum it is either. I assume it's made up, but he's allergic to certain gases, and he eats it as a antidote or something.
Yeah, so I quite like the explanation. It's a bit out there, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, he's allergic to gases in the Praxis range.
Right.
Is what you're after there. The Praxis.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one, as we all know. Yeah. I will echo your thoughts, mate. Some people say that Davison, he's a bit, but I love Davison's Doctor. I think he's very, very good, and he's great in this story. This is one of his best performances as the Doctor. I think he's just a great performance, great villain, great story. A few things that sort of knock it down a bit due to whatever, but music's really good. Great cliffhangers.
Nice location work, isn't it? I
Yes.
love all the shots of the mud bursts and all that, and when the TARDIS takes off, that big one just as it takes off. So I think there's some really good stuff in it. When I was growing up, Davison was the Doctor that was on screen, so I have quite an affection for his Doctor. So I struggled with Colin after Peter because there's such a contrast, isn't there, between the
Massive.
two?
Yeah.
But no, I think he's very good. Isn't it?
Cool.
I think that's all I've got.
It's you to go first.
Hit right. Hit me. 8.5 out of 10.
An 8.5.
8.5. A very good story. Very dark, very gritty, very adult, and a very good send-off for the Fifth Doctor, I think. Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 9.
A 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like this story a lot. It's got everything in there that Classic Who... What makes a great Classic Who story is in here for the most part.
Yeah, okay.
Really good. Obviously not a 10. It's not perfect, but yes, I just love the performances and everything we've said. It's just great.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I hovered around a 9. I was thinking sort of halfway through, this is going to be a 9 or 10, and then a few little bits brought it down for me. Mainly the Shrek making the perfect androids and stuff like that. It's just got washed over a bit, and the magma creature and stuff. But yeah, it's very good. I agree with you. Yeah, very, very good.
What did our awesome listeners think? Let's kick off with an audio clip. This is Martin Arnold.
Hello, everybody. I just recorded this, and it went on for minutes and minutes and minutes because there's just so much awesome within this story. It's hard to know where to stop. Caves of Androzani may well be the greatest episode of the 1980s. I personally have a few others that I kind of prefer more on a just a personal level, but this story is just it just goes from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds flat and doesn't let up. I mean, the Doctor and Perry had sort of drop into this world where they just go from one disaster to the next, and the Doctor struggles to keep up with it. In many ways, he's not on top of the situation. I mean, this is something you see in New Who, where he always knows what's going on. He always has an answer. Here he doesn't. Here he's thrust in between these two opposing factors, forces of, if you like, almost forces of nature, with Sharas Jek, who is unrepentantly, out for vengeance and is just one of the most intense villains that the show has ever produced. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because I have episodes I prefer on a personal level, but it's hard to fault this. The only weak points I can come to, I think the cliffhangers are great in how they're set up, but in how they resolve, a little bit weak. So when the Doctor and Perry get put up against the wall, it just sort of resolves, and you just think, okay, it's a minor quibble because it's just such a good story. So it's a 9.9 out of 10. It is an amazing story. Thanks very much.
Cool.
Thank you. 9.9.
9.9. Very good.
Very good.
Let's carry on. This is Loopy Loo.
The Caves of Androzani is the best Davison story, no question. So I hate to start with a negative, but my main grievance is, why does Morgus keep breaking the fourth wall? Was it the director making that decision? Because it's just so dumb and it doesn't work. It's just plain naff and it serves no purpose. And in fact, the actor is often facing the camera and not making contact with the person on the view screen or whatever. What is that about? It's so odd. Anyway, great cliffhanger at the end of episode 1. That is just superb. Sharas Jek is brilliant, of course. The monster is terrible, but it doesn't spoil an otherwise great episode. The end of episode 3 was pretty intense, with the Doctor all crazy and reckless. It was great to see this side of the Fifth Doctor. Great story, probably darker than any other Davison episode. He certainly went out with a bang. Also, this is probably my favourite regeneration, 5 into 6. So I love it. I give it an 8 out of 10.
An 8.
8 out of 10, yes.
And I must apologise for earlier. I got my listeners mixed up when I said about one of our listeners commented on the fourth wall. It was Lou, not Sam.
It's a good point, isn't it? Yeah,
yes.
Done that.
But yeah, you're right about the monster as well, Lou. Almost as bad as a bloody Drashigs. Right, let's carry on. This is Sammy Satine.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, The Caves of Androzani. First time I've watched this, and I almost turned it off during part 1. Jack's care of Perry was touching. Peter Davison was good. Shame his regeneration was upstaged by Perry's breasts. Yeah, not going to rewatch this one in a hurry. Sorry guys, but I don't think it's a classic. Anyway, 6 out of 10 for the good parts. See ya.
Wow.
That does surprise me. I really thought Sammy would like this one.
Oh dear.
Yeah, shocking. I'm speechless.
Not good. There we go. Over on Twitter, where we did our normal poll, loads of you have voted. Thank you very much. 86% of you said likey. Only 14% said stinky.
One of them must have been Sammy.
Must have been, yeah. So that was on Twitter poll. Thank you very much. There's some other people on Twitter said stuff like Theta Sigma said, many people argue it's Davison's best story, but while it was good, I would still not rate it as highly as Earthshock. He gave it a 3 out of 5. Daniel Fox, always considered the most overrated story of all time. It just doesn't stand out as a classic for me. 4.
4?
Yes.
Gosh.
Oh dear. Who else is on
What's
here?
Happening?
Hovian Callum said, absolutely love the story. Davison top form, 9 out of 10. Sarah Louise Baggett, who's part of the running Hovian thing, said, enjoy the story. It's a great plot, but I do feel some scenes were a little rushed. 7 out of 10.
Okay.
And somebody called K9 Recaps said, I wish we'd seen the artificially youthful, beautiful Androzanians to clearly justify why becoming ugly changed Shara's Jack into an evil, murderous creeper. The superficial ugly equals equal angle and unnecessary magma beast make this otherwise A-grade story hard to recommend to new viewers. Yes. Over on Facebook, Dean Jones says, one off, if not the greatest Doctor Who story of all time. Pretty much everything works here. The script is another cracker from Robert Holmes. Graham Harper is a fantastic director. Jack, one of the most disturbing yet fascinating characters the series has ever had. Goes on to say, minor nitpicks such as the effect of the president falling down the elevator not holding up, and Perry's, shall we say, distracting presence in the regeneration sequence isn't enough to take away this undeniable classic. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 from Dean.
Yes. Kevin Mullen says, although regarded as a classic, it isn't the greatest story ever produced. Once more, the Fifth Doctor is a passive and beige as ever, and the only way he actually has an effect on the story is that his kidnap leads to Salatine escaping. He says, story is a good one, but there are so many plot holes. Goes on to give it a 6.5. Joseph Howarth gives it a 10 out of 10. Jason Thayer, 10 out of 10. Paul Villano says, Davison's best, certainly though it's hyperbole to say it's the best in 54 years. Danny Brown, 10 out of 10. Stephen Gallagher, very good story and a great cast. And Zach Zenkin gives it a 10 out of 10 as well. So quite a few 10s.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything on the Geeks handbag?
Oh, I wasn't ready. Yeah, I was going to say, I thought there'd be a little bit of a mix, but I thought most of them would be positive. Have a quick look on the Geeks. Right. So yeah, we did have a few. So Charlie Turner says, it's been donkey's years since I watched this one, but what he can remember is it's a bit overrated. Still good, he says, 8 out of 10. I might need to give it another watch. Martin Asquith says, this is the one story I think that didn't need the monster. Sharak Jek was such a stunning character in his own right. Yes. Patrick Sherwood says, the cliffhanger to part 1 and 3 are one of my favourite scenes in Doctor Who history. Love it so much. Aaron Dowding, says the cliffhanger to part 3 is possibly one of the greatest in Who history. Yeah. Mark Daniel Mooney says example of perfect Who, music, cast and script. So yeah, he loves it. Patrick Sherwood again says, I love this story. It's in my top 10. He gives it a 10 out of 10. And finally, Bradley Willard says, masterful television. There is a script with great depth, superb direction from Graham Harper and outstanding performances from the whole cast. Definitely one of the most gritty and dark Doctor Who stories of all time. It's one of his absolute favourites. He gives it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Wowzers.
A load of 10s there.
Yeah, a lot of 10s. I must admit, I know a lot of people love this story, and so I was expecting mostly positive. So quite surprised some people didn't, but it's good. It's good to get a new perspective. That's the problem. If somebody says something's amazing and you go into it thinking this is going to be amazing, sometimes you are disappointed, aren't you?
That's
and it
true.
does get regularly put up there as one of the best. So.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you so much, though, for sending in all your thoughts and clips and so on. Very, very cool stuff. I think overall, would we recommend it? If you've,
I would, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple of other Davison stories to check out before this one, but
yeah,
still, yeah, go for it. Next week we're back to our normal run, normal schedule, and so on. So it's newer Doctor Who. What we got next week, buddy?
So next week, Christmas has come early. We're doing the 10th Doctor story, Voyage of the Damned,
the 2007 Christmas special with
That's
Kylie.
Kylie, I was just going to say, is that the one with Miss Minogue? Kylie.
Yes.
I should be the lucky.
Better than the devil you know. And all that.
Oh, it's got that grumpy man in it as well that they were talking about in the Doctor Who magazine recently. Remember the one that did the interview? Is it Clive something? Clive Swift.
Clive Swift.
Why am I even talking to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And please tell me the character name of the little red chap with the spikes.
Oh.
Come on.
Balacala. No, I don't know.
Banacafalata.
I was close. Balacafalata.
Yeah,
Is it?
You're almost there.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's going to be coming next week. So fish out your DVDs, or was this one on Blu-ray? Unless you picked up series, whatever.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Blu-ray, DVDs, whatever. Pick them up. And we'll be asking for your reviews and such as normal. And I think we're going to do there for 166.
66, yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us and listening through 166. Some sad news, some pretty good news, and some questionable merch.
Yeah.
I would say. Really pumped though for the Christmas special now. It's just one of those things where you and I are not going to be bloody here.
I can't believe it.
To bloody watch it.
This should not be allowed.
This is a sacrilegious moment.
I know.
There we go. Just
I can't wait for it.
Our better halves are dragging us off to nations afar.
They've done it on purpose, I think.
I'm sure
Teach us a lesson, yeah.
Yes. Anyways, next week, Voyage of the Damned. Get your stuff together. Get your notes out. Or just store it in your head. Whatever. So we'll be asking for your views on that. In the meantime, head over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous episodes on there, plus there are now loads of blog articles about various things to do with Doctor Who, and news roundups and reviews, and all that jazz, which is good. For the podcast itself, you can subscribe in iTunes and then all the other podcast networks. We're on most of those. And if you are an iTunes listener, a review and a rating would be amazing because that helps us out lots and lots. Also, check out Adam's channel. He runs his own thing called The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag.
Coming at you from somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Yay. So check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag. His YouTube channel, just do a search on YouTube for that. But you're also on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and pretty much everything.
Everything.
So yes, just do a search for The Geek's Handbag. You'll not be disappointed.
No, you won't.
I've often said
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
I've often said it, but yeah, if you go onto Adam's YouTube channel just for a video to watch, you'll find yourself an hour later knee deep in geekery. So, until next week, my name's Gary.
And my name's Adam.
And remember...